Recording in progress.
Very, very accurate clock. Good morning, evening. Oh my goodness, now I'm all rattled. I would like to call the regularly scheduled Middlebury Selectboard meeting for Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 to order. The first item on our agenda, well, second, if you include the call to order, is the approval of the agenda. There are changes, David?
Yeah, so there was one document included. This was the email that went out this morning in Agenda 5. That was my mistake. It should have been a freestanding consent agenda item. It is simply a follow-up to a previously approved select board action relating to Chipman Hill. It is the Vermont Bond Bank document that Emily's provided, so that was inadvertently included in the other public works item. So it should have been, it's more of a procedural item relating to the Chipman Hill project.
Great, and so just so that document is...
It's still included, just moved up into the consent.
Very good.
Yeah, it's the same document.
All right, so with that change...
I'll move.
Move.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Next up is our consent agenda, including the bond bank
Yes.
addendum update, including minutes of the Select Board Policy Review Committee, Planning Commission, and Energy Committee, applications for 3 liquor licenses. Let me see if I remember. Tindia, VFW, and
I believe it's just the Legion and Taste of India.
the Legion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Legion,
I know.
VFW.
The approval of the check warrants, the town manager's report, including an update on fees, some LURB, as it's known, the Land Use Review Board notices for a number of projects, updates on the Ilsley Public Library project, notices from the state of Vermont on a rabies case, communications about updates at the Middlebury State Airport, a certificate of public good application for Verizon changes across the street at Two Brothers, list of monthly permits issued, and 2 things from the VLCT.
And that last item is a follow-up from the previous meeting where you had asked, Crystal looked into it and provide additional information about what that special meeting is about. So, just
I'll move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or comments?
On the VLCT, first on the legislative report,
Yeah.
the saga of the Stowe 2nd cent local option tax. While it passed the House, it died in the Senate because of the sort of poison pill that was put in that half of that additional revenue they would get would go to statewide transportation things, which I just thought was unfair for Stowe to fund statewide things with their local money. And the other comment on the VLCT upcoming meeting, it seems to suggest they want to designate one person to vote at the meeting about this. And it's going to be Mark or Andy.
We did it. We did it.
Oh, okay.
It's
So that's a different thing.
That was the CHIP program.
Yeah.
That was a chip thing. Okay, I'm confused.
Right.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
this is different. This is for VLCT looking to expand into
I
health.
thought we'd have to choose between
Oh,
one and Mark.
good. Oh, shucks. All right. Is that all you have, Fred?
Yes.
Perfect. Any other comments or questions or things for further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Look at that. Off we go. All right. Let me find my agenda again. I'm guessing that it's time for public comment. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for community members to briefly comment upon or share their concerns about items not on tonight's warned select board agenda. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to talk to the select board about something not on our agenda?
We have 2 names online, so one just popped up. If either of the individuals attending want to speak, just raise your hand, your virtual hand. All right, seeing none.
All right, moving on. Next up is Public Works. Emily, come on down.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I have been working, wait, before I get into this, I know I don't have any updates in this packet since we haven't had an infrastructure meeting, but the water tank, we are trying to host an open house on the 18th. I'm assuming it would be like a 10 to 2 range. That said, it's a little bit dependent on the crane that's supposed to be coming in tomorrow to start erecting the shoring, but then we have storms coming in. which will delay the shoring, which will delay the panel erection, which is what we're trying to post the open house around. So more to come, but put that down in your notes at least, because we're hopeful that that happens.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks good up there. It looks really good. They've started erecting what shoring they can and the scaffolding that they can without the rain. On another note, though, I have been working on the loan application for the wastewater plant for the main pump station and SBR control panel upgrade, which is going out to bid later this month. As you may recall, we pulled that project out of the larger upgrade because we were able to get funding for it, but we potentially lose the funding if we don't get this application in by June 30th. So we need to get the engineering services agreement, which is in the packet, signed, and that is for the next phase of engineering, which is all the construction engineering. We've already contracted them for the final design, and so it just gets us through the bid phase and then the construction phase and then the work after construction as built plans and things of that nature. So it's pretty standard and similar to their other contracts. It's just based on a percentage of the overall contract, which is just over $6 million. So that is one piece of the packet information that you have. And then the actual loan application is the other piece of it. So the loan is for the entire project, for construction of the entire project. And so it's for the $6 million and change. Where's the number?
$147,510.
Thank you.
Happy to be there.
And so essentially like all of the engineering that we've done to date will all get rolled together into this one loan and bond through the SRF program. And this is one of those that allows for just a 2% fee, administrative fee, as opposed to paying any interest on it. So,
Cool.
yeah, that's it. Right.
I'd compliment you on this, just looking through it. I'm looking at the yellow one, the construction loan application. On page 4, what is the applicant's fiscal year? And you state state fiscal year. Is the state's fiscal year the same as the town?
Yes.
It is? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought there was some other period. And then on page 5, there's a question there. Does the system have any authorized but unissued debt, excluding the debt requested in this application? And it's not answered. There's a yes or no. Don't we have a $50 million unissued debt?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Because I was, okay, thank you. And then
It's probably material.
I wouldn't want you to,
There's a lot of little dots to fill in this
Yeah,
sheet.
sure.
It's easy to lose one or two.
get accused of nitpicking and stuff like that. Sorry. So, and then page 11 was where did I find this? Asked some question about has the board received financial trainings?
It does say that.
And I think we quizzed on that. Oh.
Have you not? Should I change that?
No,
response?
well, I don't want to.
I think this is
I think that-
historically how we have filled it out,
Okay,
but perhaps this board is different. And we do need to make
I
modifications.
don't think we've got a formalized process for that, but I think that we ask questions to get up to speed on a regular basis, and that for the purposes of an application like this, we
if
can
you and
consider that.
Mark and Nick will vouch for us, I'm fine with that.
I think that it's okay to answer this in the affirmative and to say that our finance director is the one who gives the board our financial training.
Yeah. You see anything else in there, Fred?
Nope.
Okay.
Cool. Any other comments or questions? Great. We have a motion.
Move the select board approve the amended Middlebury Pump Station and WWTF SBR Controls Upgrade Construction Engineering Services Agreement with Wright Pierce for $1,111,130.
I kind of want to give you $20 so that it's 1111111.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I wasn't supposed to say anything in between the motion and the second. Sorry. Next up.
So I'd move the select board to approve the Middlebury Pump Station and WWTF SBR Controls Upgrade Construction Step 3 loan application for $6,086,510.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Getting through it. Thanks, Emily. We are ahead of time, but I believe Teresa is here. Please do. It's much better for the folks at home and those writing minutes later and all those other things that happen thanks to the magic of AV.
Yes.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for your efforts on this. Do you want to give us a little background on
Just
the origin of this?
Sure. Yeah, St. Stephen's group of people started talking about we have this beautiful garden and a nice community piece would be to add a little free library to it, which if people are familiar with little free libraries. So it promotes literacy. It's a nice community thing. So anyway, so we kind of organized it. We got a couple of people to we ordered, we've gone through all the little free library things on their website. I think I wrote it in my little letter that you guys all got and put it together. It's sitting in our church now, just waiting to be put on a post at the spot you see the picture of as soon as we hear that that's okay to do.
Fantastic.
So we will, we just like you see how we take care of our garden. Just as we take care of our garden, we'll take care of the little free library. I'll start out as the steward of each little free library has a steward who checks it to make sure everything's going okay with it. And we'll have a little group that, keeps watch over it, so.
That sounds great. Do you have an expected schedule for checking in on it?
As I live in town, so of course, so it's easy for I go to the actual library myself a lot, so probably several times a week, and plus it's quite near to the door of the church, so that I think people will keep an eye on it as they go in. We have enough interested people in our congregation who will say, hey, something's wrong with that little free library, and will give me a call, or will take care of it themselves, so.
Great.
It is on the church property, right?
It's
It's not our
the
property,
garden.
the
It's the town owns it, but St. Stephen's cares for the garden, and so it's
Okay.
in the garden.
And that's why it's before us, because it's on town property.
Daniel?
Oh, I was curious if you had conversation about what kind of books you're going to start with.
Yeah, that was the question. I mean, little free libraries are open for anybody to put books in, anybody to take books from. We are voracious readers in our parish, so I think we'll have. I'm not. There may be some books that have religious nature to them, as any little free library, but that's not the purpose of this little free library. It'll be all kinds of novels, but hopefully novels, children's books, probably nonfiction. I mean, we'll see what comes in, but I'll, keep an eye on it too. One question somebody had was, what if somebody puts something that's scary in there? Well, that's why you have a steward to look at it and say, maybe not, and take it out. Okay. So, and anybody can take something out of it too, so.
That'd be fun.
Other?
Scary books. Some scary books can be perfect though.
Can be.
Never mind.
Depends on.
No, I'm thinking like you know,
Inappropriate.
family friendly.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Do you know how the other ones function? Are they pretty popular in these little free libraries?
I don't know. I know that I tend to see what's
I've
in
seen
there.
them.
And I
Yeah.
been
They're,
known-
they're all
very,
over the country.
Yeah.
We have two very busy ones in the Butoff neighborhood where I live that I visit frequently. So I know that there's always turnover. They tend to be very well
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
stocked and switched out. So.
Yeah. There's
They're
one at
super
Town
fun.
Hall Theater that I've looked in a couple times, has some very cool art books in it, you know, and yeah, it really tends, from what I understand, they tend to bring in a wide variety of
Yes.
books. Yeah.
I've seen them all over, but I've never actually used it, so maybe I should go there.
Yeah,
Well,
check it out.
there,
Yeah.
there.
That's your
After they
chance.
approve, I'm going to go there.
Very nice.
So,
I would move to approve the placement of the Little Free Library box at St. Stephen's Church on Triangle Park Town Parcel.
Second.
You got it.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think it's fair to call this the main event, Nick, and we've gotten to it in good time.
No, I
Nick,
think it's called the main event.
Yeah.
How is it being a contractor?
No change
I
so
didn't
far.
get it.
Really little change.
No different dress code or anything like that?
No, we're not letting him show up in his pajamas.
Yeah, can't show up his jams.
Yeah.
Can you still eat in the staff break room? Or
They haven't kicked me out yet.
is that in the contract?
I think these contractors all different rules now.
The rules are.
Oh, he is drinking from the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a fair bit to cover. There was some discussion at the select board retreat. Some items that you folks were looking for in the packet were at least a couple of those items that was at least a first crack at trying to get you what you need to be trained on financial matters.
Very good.
And so I think we could knock the local option tax sheet off right from the jump. It really just continues to outperform, which is awesome. It's kind of the golden goose that keeps laying the eggs. Can't always count on it, but it just has continued. There's 1 year since the start of time that it has gone down, and that was 2021. So,
Sure, that makes sense.
and that was by $4,000 from the year prior. So we continue to just knock it out of the park with that. Which is why on our general fund budget status report, we show intergovernmental as being about close to 300,000 higher than planned because we made 273,000 more in local option tax money than we had expected. Overall, on the budget status for all funds, I think we're in pretty dang good shape.
Yeah.
Is this the one, Nick?
No, not
Oh,
that.
sorry.
I would go to
Alright.
the probably general fund.
Yep.
Yes. We're in pretty dang good shape. So, general fund budget, we're 92% of the way through the year, and we are 92% of the way through our monies.
Wow.
So that is coincidental, but fortuitous.
Yeah.
The one percentage-wise line that sticks out to me is the annual report. That was really just a change in ideology for coding postage. So $2,000 on a very small budget is a large percentage. Do you code it to postage, or do you code it to the annual report where the postage is for? So those types of things can make a large. What was that?
Did we mail out the town report?
I think just the copies even
And the
of.
postcards that we send out.
Yeah. Yep. Other amounts that stand out for the most part, if there's anything that does stand out, it's more of a timing difference. When we get to the water and sewer funds, going to show 75% of the way through our revenues because we are 3/4 billed for the fiscal year. So very to be expected there. I guess before we move on from the general fund, did anyone find any questions they might have?
I have one.
Okay.
On line 75, the transfer from the Cross Street Reserve, the town voted the 256, 264 at town meeting.
That's that timing thing where town meeting happens and it's sent out immediately and then, right?
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times.
Yeah, so it's just a timing thing and ideology of when the transfer happens, but it's,
So that, there was only 228, 496 in the amount to transfer, or, I'm not sure it's saying about the time. Is the balance going to be paid some other time, or?
no, that was the year priors, which is not written there. But no, I think that's just the year priors amount.
Oh,
You got budget and actual for FY '26, what Fred's talking about.
Right.
I was in our current fiscal year, I thought.
Yes.
So the 228 is for 27, is that correct? Is that the
It
transfer?
says 26 actual.
Right, but again, so
Was
the
that-
timing, so
Yeah.
the annual meeting happens,
Right.
and that is what historically has been the transfer period. So
Right,
it kind of
which happens-
lags a year.
Even though you're approving the 27 budget,
It's the
the
27.
transfer happens in the 26 actual.
Correct.
Account.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So is 228 what we approved in March?
I thought it was a 256, 264 number, but
I'm thinking it's got to be the 228.
Okay.
We can check that.
Yeah,
We can check.
We have the technology.
And this is also a manual spreadsheet, so it's possible I entered it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, this was his, after Nicholas heard you wanting a different format, this was Kathleen's format that Fred provided and asked that we put it in, so.
It's a good
It's
format.
very legible.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
Attempt to do
yeah,
that.
as laborious as it can be, I get the need
Yeah.
to be able to read the reports. So
Do me them.
I get that.
okay, thank you.
Yep. If we want to move on to the equipment fund budget.
Cool.
Purchase of equipment is to the penny.
Well, that is basically putting money into a reserve because with a internal service fund like that, it is done on an accrual basis, so you wouldn't expense the equipment itself. You would capitalize it and then depreciate it over time. That does nothing for you in terms of trying to interpret a budget status report. So that is money going into the fund and then money being drained from the fund. And we can look later at the fund reserves to know what is
That's in
actually
the fund balance, I see.
right.
Okay, thank you.
To know what's actually available for equipment purchases. So the standout item is public works garage spending. I believe that's legitimate, spending, but definitely overall we are where you would expect to be for the fund as a whole.
Is the garage funding above budget because it's an old building that requires more? No.
We bought new software for
Okay.
maintaining our assets and
Yes.
for submitting work orders. And I believe under Dave's leadership, that got billed to that category.
Okay. Okay.
Glad she's here to answer those types of things.
It's a good thing.
What is indirect charges?
Believe that is mainly benefits and things like that for the relatively few employees that are billed to the equipment fund. So that's mainly benefit charges. Any questions there?
So that would be mechanics? Who else would be?
Two mechanics.
2 mechanics? Okay. Makes sense.
So what?
I think it makes sense.
Somewhat,
Okay.
to me. It doesn't make sense to me, but why are people in here?
Yeah.
It's equipment fund, why are people charges in here?
Well, it's for maintenance of equipment and reserves. So at the end of the year,
Right.
and you'll see with the fund balances, but at the end of the year, you could kind of think that the maintenance has passed, the operating budget has been spent. You should only have kind of the equipment reserves left. So we'll get there with the fund balances.
So the town garage has employees in it too
Yeah,
that pay the benefits. That's
Okay.
true.
all right,
Unclear, but-
I did not know that.
Yeah, I believe it's just the 2 individuals.
Cool.
Water fund. So again, on the revenue side, we're where we would expect to be. The billing happens later this month. So the 3/4 of the way through makes sense. Believe that there has been short staffing. Is this the correct fund?
Yes, correct.
So some of the administration and benefits is light, which is obviously not sustainable, but it's good budget-wise. Again, the capital improvements, that is money being put aside. It would be considered to transfer in, and then we would have to look at the fund balances to really interpret that number more.
Cool.
Revenue side, I mean, the meter program is high. They've been working really hard to get non-reading meters caught up and installed. That's partially offset by meter sales. Doesn't pay for all of it, but pays for 7,000 at least of it. Any questions there?
So there's capital improvements in this that are transferred to the capital improvements fund.
No. So water and
The water-
sewer they stay
They have their own
within-
capital improvements.
Correct.
Okay,
Enterprise funds.
Yeah, they have to kind of float onto themselves like a for-profit business. But it is money that is added to the spreadsheet to keep track of the capital project spending.
so we have the funding of those capital improvements, but not the expenditures of any capital improvements fund.
What
If
do you
you
mean?
look on the water fund sheet, you can see the expenditures.
Yeah, I think that 695 line.
But you're saying for the capital, no, but I mean, the detail for the
What the
capital
projects are.
projects was not in the packet.
Right.
We have the overall fund balances, but we don't have that detail.
Because,
That can be provided.
It,
the water and sewer fund balances are significant. And they need to be for the projects that we have. I just,
Yeah.
we're talking about these equipment fund and the general fund, which are smaller.
Yeah, so we've got, right, so we've got the overall fund balance, which we can talk, and then if it's decided to have the,
while we're here, I'm somewhat surprised that the budget and expenditures for water projects, capital improvements, are match exactly.
It's
But
only
no-
a transfer.
yeah, but no,
That's
again,
just
this
the-
is money getting added to the pot.
It's a fund transfer.
Okay,
Balances to
right.
see the true.
Okay. Okay.
So there's three
But they don't have
capital
that
improvements
sheet.
Funds, budget,
Yeah, yeah.
water one, a sewer one, and a town job.
I don't think so, no,
I don't think so.
no. And it can be provided very
Sure.
easily.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful, Nick.
Yep,
So Nick makes these for both the water and the
Amazing.
sewer.
water, sewer, and the
And it shows
regular
all the
capital
transfers.
fund shows starting balance at the beginning of the year, revenues in, transfers in,
That's fantastic.
expenditure, yeah, so.
If you could share that with the board and
Yep.
get it in the packets for the next meeting so that it's part of
That's the summary.
that's great.
This is the-
Yep.
the record.
Yes.
Any other questions for water fund?
Item based.
I don't see any.
Sewer fund. There was an error on the sewer fund. I think I double counted the administration and benefits. I have an updated number if people want to write it down. So this is the operations 26 expenditures. You can see that shows 123% over budget. That's not the case. So I have an updated
Oh.
number to plug there. If you want to take a note, it's $1,196,686, and
That's
that
much
is
better.
much better, and that's 80%. I think I double counted the admin and benefits
Interesting.
just because.
Okay.
Not like mixing it up. So that puts the total expenditures at 88% of budget. So again,
Just
right in
below
line where
the-
we would expect to be.
So the total isn't 4 million, it's something less.
It's,
It's $3,480,051.
it's
That's about seven hundred
probably less
thousand.
likely to sum it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
And he can update that and we can add it to the packet too for you, so that it's in there.
These change every day, so
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, they do.
Exactly.
this is good today.
Yes.
And on the sewer note, on the fund balance that I thought was in the packet.
Nope.
We have an expended balance of $1,123,059, and we still have a reserve balance of $2.86 million.
Great.
On wastewater, you say?
That's on wastewater. I did not print it for the water, sorry.
Because we don't have their fund balance.
I'm just thinking the sewer fund balance, I'm sorry.
So there's both interest and investment income. Where is the surplus invested that is not just interest-bearing accounts?
I'm so sorry. Say that again.
There's two lines.
So the
For
the interest
income on
income, I
wastewater.
believe, is interest on sewer accounts, whereas the investment income would be money from the wastewater treatment fund is the main account that the
Gotcha. So
sewer
interest
fund.
income is interest we're charging.
Payers.
Or delayed.
for being late.
Yeah. Very
Yeah, we should probably change that to late fees.
And the investment income is?
So the only
revenue on the fund.
miscellaneous account, or I don't know if you'd call it miscellaneous account, but the only liquid account that the sewer fund actually controls or owns is the wastewater treatment fund money, and so those are in treasuries and earns
Got it.
interest.
Got it. Thank you.
Great. Any other thoughts, questions on wastewater?
This is great.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
setup.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Really easy
Yeah.
to read.
So probably go on to the fund balances. Yep. Ignore the pink. Okay. So I wrote a very, very short little, couple words really, just saying where money comes from and what it's typically used for. These are funds in the town's accounting software. If you define fund as every capital project, we've got a lot more than 16. If you define it the way the auditors do in their audit report, we've got fewer than 16. So fund is used a lot. But when I talk about a fund, this would be my preferred definition. It's my accounting software. We put money in it's like a separate set of books that we're able to very easily track that funding independently of the rest. Money can be held in the general fund checking account. It's our main and only operating checking account. And that's tracked with due to, due froms. And that's kind of the defining characteristic of fund governmental accounting, is due to, due froms. Instead of one set of books like a private business, you have many, and you keep track of kind of interfund loans.
Okay.
And so these are the funds that have been set up in our accounting system. ARPA fund.
So hang on one second,
Okay.
and hopefully this helps someone other than me. So, for instance, we have a fire equipment reserve fund of $1.5 million, and let's say that they buy $100,000 of fire protective gear. That gets paid from the checking account, but debited from this fund.
So, we're going to run with that example. I'm not 100% sure
I
That-
don't
yeah.
care about the.
There's a couple reasons why I don't think that example works, but
Dang it.
you were close. So if there was
I'll take it.
if there was a expense in, let's say, the sewer fund, just a normal operating
Okay.
expense, okay, you are debiting that expense, you're crediting the cash account, which is just our general checking account. So you're lowering the general checking account,
Right.
you're increasing the expense, and then the sewer fund basically owes the general fund less money because the general fund just floated
Yeah.
the expense.
Yeah. Okay. That's my understanding. And
Yeah.
that matches. Okay. Good.
But vice versa, it goes the other direction. If we deposit sewer rates, someone comes in with a payment, we deposit that in the general fund checking account. Now the general fund owes money to the sewer fund.
Do to, do from.
Do to, do from, and they should net to zero, which they do.
I like that.
Well, they net to the same small variance that they have for years.
Fred.
So the sewer fund has a nice fund balance. It's way up from what the auditors said we had in the sewer fund last year. Have we already taken out part of the 50 million to bring it to 19 million? How do we get to $19 million?
Well, a lot of that is capital assets, so that's why up at the top I say / capital assets, because when we invest in infrastructure, when we invest in a truck, when we invest in anything really that's real and we can touch it, if it's expensive things we can touch, we capitalize it, and that is factored into that balance. You do not do that for the general fund. You do that for enterprise funds. They work like a business. So you have to...
So that's mostly the value of the wastewater plant.
A lot of it is the carrying value of pipes and the wastewater plant, all the infrastructure.
Oh my God.
Is the unassigned fund balance across there, is that?
That is money.
That's money.
That's money that obviously you keep.
So it's only 3 million, right?
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
That was exciting though.
That was super exciting.
Thought we were a long ways on our way towards
Yeah.
wastewater facility.
Yeah, I wish it was that good news story. So that's why we've got that kind of weird committed, restricted, and then capital assets, because I didn't want that to be confusing. And that's also true for the equipment fund. We would capitalize any equipment there as well.
So in the first line, you say typical funding source for the general fund is LOT, local option tax money. But that appears to go into the capital improvements fund, does it not?
We would do that with transfers, and that had kind of been discussed this past budget year of trying to get away from that. But
Well,
it still is ultimately, if we earn more money, and this is the way it's always been done, if we earn more money in LOT, that ultimately still benefits. And the capital fund, in terms of the auditors, is an extension of the general fund.
so when the town votes for a bridge to fund the debt service of the bridge and the bridge maintenance, and portion of the library project from local option tax revenues, aren't the bridge and its maintenance and the library coming out of the capital improvements fund? Shouldn't the LOT be a revenue in the capital improvements fund line?
Well, I think we've had this discussion quite a few times, and there was a vote by you folks last year to treat it as general fund revenue. I think that's the right move. But we
Okay.
can continue to have those discussions, but tonight I think we've got...
So we just have to tell the voters that it's being transferred. They're consistent with their vote, it's being transferred, and it's okay. Is that what we're supposed to do?
I mean, it's... The impact on their tax rate is the same, which I think is what they care about.
Okay.
Good answers.
Well,
What do you think of that?
I'm confused about local option tax. We do not have a local option tax excess fund.
Correct.
And so that is all into the general fund. So you couldn't even come up with a number anymore. Could you specifically relate it to the local option tax?
Well, and again, this was voted on.
You can answer.
I can answer that.
That's fine.
So in previous years, we have been very explicit about what local option tax revenue is going to be used for as far
Yes.
as capital projects,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I think this year, for the first time, we allocated from the balance that had accrued,
Right.
right, to help with the library costs and such,
Right.
in the 27 budget year. So this unassigned fund balance includes the accrued surplus in prior years that flowed into the town coffers and had
That's
not been
exactly what
spent
my question
out
was.
of
Yes.
out of the LOT numbers when
Right.
we were balancing things before.
Okay.
Is that right, Nick?
In previous years,
Oh, I'm trying to get close.
in
Am I close?
previous years, any excess, so where we just earned $274,000 more in option tax money than we had planned, you would tuck it away in what we called at that time the bridge fund.
Yes.
What was voted on last year was to say, instead of making that the default, we understand the money doesn't disappear just because it's sitting in unassigned fund balance in the general fund. Any excess will not be transferred. The balance in the bridge fund will be split, I believe was the thinking. We'll take whatever is needed for bridge maintenance, and then we will have a local option tax fund where the balance would not be expected to grow infinitely, but could be used for some short-term offsets for projects that we wanted. And then going forward, that funding would be in the general fund. And I think we're going to need that funding in the general fund.
I think what you're talking about is the board vote, the second meeting in February.
I don't
I think
remember
it was
the
last
timing.
year, but when we talked about this.
So speaking of a bridge fund, we talked about having a bridge fund for maintenance setup. Do we?
Create it? No.
That has not, no, there is, so that is still local option tax money and bridge fund money. There has been no vote
But there's
to,
a bridge fund maintenance.
Oh, right. a
Well-
capital project.
I started that to be able to fix the footbridge down here, start putting money aside for the Patel Bridge. That was not the intention of what the Cross Street Bridge funding was supposed to go to.
But we have funding that's needed for the Cross Street Bridge
Correct.
repairs now.
And so
Where is that coming?
I presented a maintenance cost plan maybe in January
Yep.
to infrastructure and
Yep.
here.
Yep.
That sort of laid out a projection with what we
Yep.
needed to set aside for Cross Street Bridge repairs moving forward.
Where's that money?
How does that, so when does that
Where's
transfer
that,
into
is
the,
that gonna be in a separate fund? Is it?
should be in the capital improvements fund, ready for you to access,
I
right?
mean, I guess that's up to Nick and the auditors, but it could go into that bridge, the capital bridge fund. It could be a transfer directly.
yeah, we really just need, I believe, a vote on how much money historically sat in what we called the Cross Street Bridge Fund. How much of that are we gonna keep? Either move it to the bridge maintenance
Right.
fund or continue to call it the Cross Street Bridge Fund?
Right now, it's in this $4 million.
No,
Uh-huh.
no. Right now, it is in the 7.543. It's in the capital improvement fund.
Okay.
Okay.
Because you're looking at the general fund. Yeah.
Right.
So we move all capital
Okay.
spending, or all capital funds, to the capital improvement fund.
Okay.
And that's where that money sits.
So the thing that's confusing me now, and please, if the rest of you are confused, please jump in here.
Well, you go ahead.
My thinking when we were looking at, for instance, wastewater, was that really this committed is largely the assets held by that. But for the capital improvements, let me find things. Yeah, capital improvements fund, there is expected spending on defined capital projects.
The difference is governmental accounting.
Yeah.
I didn't make it.
I agree.
And I think we should change it. But it's the difference between a governmental fund
Yeah.
and an enterprise fund. So the water and sewer and equipment fund
Yeah.
work on more of an accrual basis where you're capitalizing those assets. You
Yeah.
don't do that in a governmental fund. If we spend $20 million, well, here's an example. If we get $11,500,000 from a library bond,
Yeah.
we call that gains or proceeds from bond issuance. You can't do that in a private business.
Right.
So it's revenue in the year you get the money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even show the long-term debt. And then when you spend the money, you're not capitalizing the big, beautiful library. You still have to keep track of it because the auditors will take all of this modified accrual. They will create government-wide financial statements and they'll convert it all into basically accrual, full
Some
accrual.
asset.
Right, so we keep track of that, but from our perspective, right, it's confusing, but from our budgeting perspective, from this spreadsheet, no capital assets are actually a part. That is all liquid assets in the capital improvement fund.
Okay. Fantastic. But, okay, so it's just those 3: equipment, water, sewer, where the assets are capitalized in the committed?
Yes.
Okay. That helps, but confuses.
Can I just ask the
remember
history
that.
there? You've referenced a bunch of times, like the vote about no longer calling it the bridge and now it's general fund. Like, can you just give me a little
I think
history
the
on
way that it worked in the past was confusing, and it also created an expectation of funding that was available that I don't think it's easy to just get lost. And treating it like a general fund revenue is cleaner. So basically, we had so many transfers back and forth between the capital fund and the general fund as it related to local option tax. None of that was legally required. It was how it had always been done, and more about perceptions of what the voters might expect. But I don't. I think also in voting to eliminate the sunset on that local option tax, making that a permanent revenue, that was also some of the reason for the change.
Okay. And so I don't know if this is even part of that, but because we know that there's going to be an expense on keeping up with the bridge, like, is that
Well, that's
somewhere
that's
else?
the whole point of the capital improvement fund itself, is we anticipate this cost that's coming up.
Yep.
And you try to project, the engineers that
Yeah.
know what they're doing, project the costs, and then you budget for it annually so that it can be a smooth taxing process as opposed to a one-time expense that comes out of nowhere and jacks our
Right.
taxes up.
Right, exactly.
And
And so therefore,
So it
we're not worried about
accumulates.
where it's getting paid out of. It's just it's out of the general fund, which is
well,
contributed.
the general fund is our
partially.
tax
Right,
source.
right.
And so if we have a large expense that we know is coming, we've got to reserve that money.
Yeah.
The capital fund is our way of doing that.
Okay.
We reserve bridge funds, we reserve everything in the capital improvement fund.
Okay.
And so,
Nick, how hard is it for you to provide a breakdown of where that $5.7 million is?
which one's the
Well,
5.7?
5.7.
Sorry.
7.5.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
The capital
Yeah,
improvements fund.
no, we do it every month.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That'd be helpful for the infrastructure committee to keep up with.
Nick, I got just a really, is the general fund the checkbook balance?
No.
Okay.
Because you've got those due froms and things like that. So the fund balance of the general fund is never going to match the checking balance.
What is in the checkbook?
I believe just the checkbook, I believe 10 million.
So what is that money?
It's money that is owed to these projects. We obviously keep quite a bit of it to.
Yeah. Yes.
We keep quite a bit of it to even out gaps. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but 6 months of spending and how grants factor in and everything, it's not as much as it sounds. And yeah, and I mean, in addition to that, there's treasuries and
Yes,
other liquid investments.
Right.
Yeah.
If we were to budget for something and then we got a grant to cover it, what does that look like in the budget?
It looks like a underspent budget.
Money in the bank.
Money.
Yeehaw.
It would show a 0% on your budget status report.
So I have another comment about some of the captions of on the revolving loan fund. It says its primary purpose is economic development loans, and then it's typically used as housing loans.
Well, yeah.
And then we have a separate economic development fund. I just wonder, is
The revolving loan is housing, and I think
they're
it
housing
is.
projects, right? Didn't we just clear those up at the last meeting?
No, those were
Absolved some, right?
yes, but that is not the revolving loan fund. Those were in here, but there is a revolving loan that remains outstanding, and possibly a couple others. I think there was one. I'm trying to think of the word for the non-revolving, but yes. In other words, there's a couple left.
Okay. On the conservation fund, isn't that you label the fire equipment reserve fund? Isn't the conservation fund and the economic fund, aren't those also reserve funds?
I mean, the
But
conservation
keep us with the
fund
differences.
is, I believe, mostly restricted money.
Yeah,
A lot of it comes from Battelle Trust. So I don't know that we would call that a
It
reserve.
really comes from the radio tower revenues
Right.
through the Battelle Trust. But
Right.
so a reserve fund, I was involved in this in 1985 when this was set up. The first reserve fund, which was the conservation. It was also called the land use fund in the audit for reasons 3 town managers ago called it that. A reserve fund, in the statute, it can be used for the purposes for which the voters set it up, but it can't be used for other purposes without a town vote. So
Right.
the fire equipment fund is dedicated, and the interest on that stays within that
Yeah,
fund.
Right, and we can't transfer it without going to the voters and saying, we
Right.
really need some Battelle money.
So it's for acquisition of land or conservation easements, is what it's for.
Yep.
And the Economic Development Reserve Fund was for business development. And we've used that recently for the industrial park permitting work that Otter Creek is doing through the Economic Development Corporation.
So to be clear, I mean, if your point is you're thinking that should show as unassigned, committed funds
Well,
is what you're mostly talking about. I mean, it's money that could be spent.
I would put an asterisk beside the funds that you can't transfer money out of them for other purposes without town vote, like water fund, sewer fund, and these reserve funds. Those are all.
So I mean, that is what restricted fund balance is. So that's the left-hand column of the money that you can spend freely is in the unassigned fund balance. Doesn't mean it's a best practice.
But even though we approved a budget that included all of these capital projects, we as a select board could say, we're not gonna do whatever this year, right?
You can certainly delay, I mean, capital money, you're putting it toward a purpose. If you then decided you wanted to do something radically different, I think you would have to go back to the voters and say, I mean, small things that are
I don't really
related,
think so.
it's kind of a gray zone.
Okay.
Don't mess with her phone.
I come to the select board typically in November if we are reallocating funds from one
Yeah.
Right.
reserve to another.
Right, but don't we do it
Select board does it. But that's
Well-
within the capital.
within capital, within
one
project
capital
lines within
project,
capital?
yes.
Okay,
I
it's not
shuffled
taking
stuff
things
from
out
pool to,
of,
like, and I kept things within the same department, so like the Parks and Rec department, we shuffled money around in there.
Yep.
So stuff went from the pool to, or vice versa, to the skate park or whatever it was, but
okay,
you all reallocated.
Okay.
As long as it's within that reserve.
within,
right, within
yeah,
within reason. I
okay,
don't think you could go to the voters and say this is for a new, firehouse. And
we
then
can't just
spend
say
it
we're gonna
on
let the
something
sports center, fall down and we're gonna take the negative $19,000 out of there.
else. Yes. So that's timing of
Okay.
loan payments.
Okay. This is the education that we all told Emily we were getting. Whew. Farhad,
Yes.
you got it all?
Are you worried about any of these balances or amounts in terms of,
Good question.
I'm always worried, but I
Well-
have an anxiety disorder. So the unassigned fund balance is, if you look between the equipment fund and general fund, you are pretty close to the 3-month operating budgets of those two funds, which is the lower end of the range. I keep giving you the 3 to 6 month rule, but it's in the range. Water and sewer are fine from that perspective. There's obviously some very large capital spending coming up that is, I think we all have to be a little worried about, but in terms of our ability to weather a emergency, we are very, very liquid. I mean, we have, like I say, that 7.5 million in the capital fund is liquid. I mean,
but
it's,
if we had one, finding the money to pay that back would be pretty challenging.
Oh, yeah.
without, I mean, it's gonna, I mean, our big thing is making sure maintenance is kept up with, and we're looking as long down the road as we can for the big ticket items.
I have contemplated the value of a reserve fund policy, saying that as a community and organization, we target having this level of rainy day reserve, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Is this useful? Is it a good exercise, or is this a pointless
Be
exercise?
something to point to if we got into trouble, say, well, that's the policy.
Yeah.
Having a policy doesn't mean it would stay that way. It's not
Right.
perfect protection, but I would not be against a policy.
It's not a strong support.
It's just not magic. A lot of the
Of
time
course not.
people look at a policy, and I'm not saying you guys,
Yeah.
but and while we've got a policy, we're fine.
No,
We
of
could
course
spend the
not.
money just as easily.
You need a process that supports the policy, and you need to actually abide by it when
Yeah.
you run into difficulties. Yeah. Okay.
What about the audit?
So the audit was a clean.
We're gonna go page by page.
Yeah.
So the audit.
Well, before we get to the audit, let's just do a quick check and see if there are other questions on these fund balances.
No, I feel like
You're all good?
I feel
it's
much
pretty
clearer
clear, yeah.
than ever before. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Woohoo! That's fantastic.
Okay, so the financial statements. It is an unqualified opinion, which is what you want to see. Doesn't get better than that. We continue to have a rub in terms of timing. I blame the auditors. I'm sure the auditors would blame me. There had been some light conversation about it's been a long time since we put the audit to a bid. We're paying $70,000 for the audit. There's been talk about intertown cooperation. I don't know if there's interest there.
Interesting.
Could look for kind of a multi-town
Package deal.
proposal, see if there's any savings there. I'm not sure there will be.
If there's the same finance director, it could make it easier to interface with the auditor.
Cornwall's interested.
I think Middlebury might be interested. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, again, no promises on what it would actually save us, but if anything. But yeah, so continue to struggle with our technology, which does have an effect on the audit. But I think for the most part, we're doing what we need to do, and always looking for improvements.
Now that you've explained that these contract professional auditors classify things differently,
Different
that
groupings,
could
for sure.
explain why some of the numbers seem odd here and there throughout, or like, you know, changes in net assets, governmental activities, 2024 to 25, charges for services somehow is the following year, 2025.
What page are you
We
looking
got
at, Fred?
3 million, well, this is not a numbered page. It's the, jeez,
Oh, you're right.
it's the one,
Is this the town as a whole?
four,
Which I have as page 8.
about 8 pages.
Yeah,
about
okay.
8 pages.
Very good.
Changes in net assets. Somehow we got 3 million more from charges for services.
I've got that as page 9. Okay.
Okay, and I just like, where the hell, what do we charge? It's not taxes, and it's a mystery to me. But hey, it looks good. We've got more, so that's great. I don't want to complain. Moving on. I just don't understand it. What do I really care about?
So I mean,
Yeah.
fund or page 8 or 9, whichever one.
This
You are talking about water and sewer.
Those are governmental activities, not the business ones.
All right, so I'm on a
That's
different
page,
page.
that's page 9.
Page 8 or 9.
Page 9.
Yeah. Change in net
Change in-
assets
yeah.
Says
in
page
the middle of the page.
8 or 9. All right, I'm not gonna find it.
Okay.
Well, is it up there? Changes in that.
Yeah, that's the one.
Well, it just goes from 1,154,662 in 24 to 4.4 million in 2025 under charges for services. And this is separate from taxes, and I just
Yeah.
at a loss to think what we charge to bring that kind of revenue.
Fair question.
But whatever you're doing, keep it up.
I'd have to
It's
think
good.
on that too.
You know, I'm interested in hearing your comments about the last few pages of the whole thing, where these were particularly report 4 and report 5. The last 5 pages of the whole schmeal has some comments that I'm sure you have a response to, because they're, to the average person reading this, it's
I have a really basic question. What does the select board member need to know about an audit report? And is there an executive summary? What should we be concerned with it? Because I can read this audit report and I run my own businesses, and this audit report would make no sense to me probably at all.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a Fred one-on-one, or maybe we should know what we need to know as a select board member, because I guarantee you, I did not read the whole audit report.
Right.
It's shocking to everyone.
Yeah,
that's
so
listening.
first and foremost, you can look up the terminology. They're not going to say it in the report, but you can look up the verbiage that's included on an audit opinion. And there's certain verbiage that it's all regulated, what needs to be included for different types of opinions.
Right.
And so you don't have to listen to me say, oh yeah, I'm doing a good job, believe me, don't, look behind the curtain. You can look at the verbiage, line it up in here and say, oh yeah, they got, a clean, unmodified, unqualified opinion. So that is first and foremost.
Yes.
I have grown, to Fred's what he's going to point to, I've grown slightly frustrated slash disheartened with findings. Because I came in 4 years ago and I thought, we're going to get these cleaned up and we're going to have no findings. And we've pushed back more in years prior. We've gotten some removed. For years, they included a finding that literally had no basis in reality. It was something that was copy and pasted from years
that's
prior.
what we're doing. Yes.
And I had to physically say, you are going to remove that because it is so far from the truth. And the timing on the audit this year, I didn't have any ability to push back on any of that verbiage. For instance, they say we don't do AP reconciliations monthly. That is just wrong. They say that we should do more frequent reimbursement requests. From speaking with Emily, there are certain agencies, they say more frequent, and in years past, I don't know if it's still the case, they say monthly. You should look at monthly reimbursements. Anyway, that's not even an option for some agencies of the state. The reconciliation finding that is listed there, that was pretty much a agreement between Derek, the audit manager, and I that, kind of technical, but we had an AP credit card void issue that had to happen at the end of the year. And so it became a question of, is it worth it to keep trying to explain this? We know it remedies the month after, or do we move on? And that was kind of the deal. It was, yeah, you can move on, but we're going to have to include this note on reconciliations. The depreciation schedules, I don't think we're ever going to get that removed. It's basically saying you need to get fixed assets right the first time. We have no quality software to do that.
Nick, going back, sorry. The credit card year-end void thing, that is this, sorry, let's see if I can line this, page 85B findings, the year-end audit and financial reporting findings.
See, you've got pages I don't
Yeah,
have,
sorry.
I think.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, right there. The 30 adjusting journal entries proposed to management.
Well, and then that, for instance, many of those are my entries that I'm proposing. Some of them are just nice to haves, not need to haves.
Yeah.
And even in total, from the time of field work to the time that we got our final, there was only 27.
Okay.
Which, when a lot of those are my entries that I've made,
Yeah.
a lot of auditors don't include management proposed entries in their totals.
It
So
does
these
not
are
feel like an audit result if it's an internal.
right.
AP.
And some of the reason why we've brought our auditors in so early
Yeah.
is thinking naturally that would get us our results earlier. They came in August. We got our results in May.
So could we scroll to the top of the next page?
86.
Yeah, right there, the top couple of paragraphs. The language here seems pretty severe.
And I think if you looked at other towns' audits, you'd get similar language. And I don't disagree with it. I mean, they're saying you can't put this entire thing together yourself. Your financial
The
statements,
effect,
and I can't. It's a $70,000 service we're paying for. There's a team of CPAs, not one. People who have 50 years of experience managing that. So I don't disagree
okay,
with
so
it.
the average person reading this, it's helpful to hear you say that, because unvarnished here, it seems pretty scary.
I agree.
I assume that you and the town manager go through this finding by finding and at least discuss.
I bring them up, and
Okay.
it's like I say, I think it's kind of normal, but it is stuff that we do talk about throughout the entire year, trying to get improvement and see what we can do.
So you actually
We talk about
Obviously
some of
shoot
these things
to
all
make-
the time, yeah.
To eliminate these.
Yeah, he's gone over lots of these, the same frustrations with the findings and how they just year after year are showing up, and yeah, so he's provided both Mark and I a paper copy of the audit, and yeah.
It wouldn't be a good auditor that didn't find a whole bunch of findings, correct? I mean, that's,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what.
And I think that's what I'm having to come to terms with, is that a good result doesn't mean no findings.
That's right, there's no
But
perfect
being new
score.
in my career, I want them all gone. And I am coming to the belief that it's not necessarily realistic.
So your report 4 is the 2025 year, and report 5 compares it with the same recommendations that were in the last year's one.
Yeah, and again, I mean, copy
Exactly.
paste.
24, yeah.
This is a boilerplate, and they just,
Yeah,
When my very short time at a very large CPA firm, Sally, same as last year.
Hey, cue that, man.
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But you can also always talk to the auditors yourself too, and get those answers.
Should we
That
bring
would-
them in?
That one might be an interesting thing to bring the auditor in, and have him give us a general.
I'm used to that in other municipalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, is a thing we should. Yeah, we should.
He won't charge us another 70,000.
Not 70,000, but I bet they'll bill you.
Yeah, we'd probably pay for their evening.
Maybe they want our business next year, that's why they're coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's not a bad idea.
If there was a some type of bid, I would say we're past the point of that being the 2026 audit, but we would want to start that conversation for 2027 sometime relatively soon.
Sure.
Have we already
Especially if
contracted for 2026?
we haven't signed anything, but timing would become challenging for sure.
You know, the state law says it's supposed to be produced before town meeting, made available for town meetings, so people know is there
And whether
fund balance
language-
money that they can use to reduce taxes, or that's, and, you know,
Whether language like that can be put into a agreement,
yeah.
I don't know, but
I don't think they read the state law or statute, right? I mean,
Supposing it was
unfortunately,
in the
he's been
contract.
hounding them to get it to us. and,
Yeah, we could do some liquidated damages.
yeah, we've been waiting.
I'll just slow down.
Yeah, right. I do not think there are many residents who would benefit from having this available the first week of March, but I do understand the
Well,
value of timeliness.
In the old days,
And is that-
auditors produced things that
More legible,
people could
I understand.
use in town meeting.
Yeah.
And a lot of that
it's still the
might
case
be-
in a lot of rural towns.
a lot of that might be language from internal auditors also that produce a report for town meeting,
Sure,
which is obviously a lower bar.
correct. But did you have other portions here in 4 and 5 you wanted
Not that I
to
want
discuss?
to discuss in detail, here, taking up the board's time, they're just the odd numbers that I don't understand.
I mean, if you think they're material or will help our understanding, this is a time to discuss them.
Or, yeah, if it's just your curiosity, then go on.
And if it's
Go
if it's
on.
numbers that don't line up with, if it's stuff in the audit report that doesn't line up with understanding in our financials, I think that would take time for me to analyze and come with an educated synopsis, just because it is grouped and regrouped and reworked and yeah.
One thing that would be interesting as we look at budgeting is seeing the same kind of really clear fund and expense layout, but with more years of actuals. Is that a difficult?
It is really
Yeah,
difficult.
I was afraid of
And
that.
The issue is, so like, to try to get this done, you can't just start working and pace yourself. You've got to get May closed in a matter of a day or two. That involves gathering all the invoices from all the different people for credit cards and everything else.
Yeah.
It requires, and then making it for the deadline to be included in the packet. It depends on where the first Tuesday falls, but I wouldn't have wanted to come here and report on April
Right.
information. So it is difficult. And then things do change when you do go through an audit.
Yep.
There are regulations and things that hit budget lines that throw things out of whack, which isn't really necessarily relevant to a budget status report.
Sure. So if, for instance, we got the year-end finals from you in 3 months, right? Fiscal year finals are, yeah. And then after the 26 audit is completed, whenever, they're like, hey, here's the AJEs that you need to add in to do all this. And so it would change between when you present it in the fall and when we see the numbers the next fall.
Yes.
For that year.
There's adjustments
Awesome.
for things like your share of state pension fund. And so it will show like your retirement line is crazy when it's really just
Not great.
backroom accounting things that doesn't mean you overspent your budget, just.
So I'll just want one number,
Yeah, do it.
and then I'll,
Yeah, good.
because we talk about this all the time. The Cross Street Bridge Fund. This is found on page 44, and they're numbered pages of the report, but it's page 60 of 89
Okay,
in the
good.
packet.
Nicely located.
And it's at the bottom there, it says committed for Cross Street Bridge, 2.2 million. So I'm trying to think in my head, okay, last July 1st, according to them, we had 2.2 million in the Cross Street Bridge Fund. And we appropriated some of that at town meeting towards the library, and we did some debt service with it, right? No, you're frowning?
I think that's
How much have we
money.
got in the Cross Street Bridge Fund now is my
I
question.
believe it's still that 2.2 million. I
Really?
believe it's that. And we wouldn't expect that to grow or shrink at this point because we're going to treat the local option tax as general fund revenue.
But that's, okay, this is not general fund,
And the
this is in
debts.
the capital improvements fund.
Yeah,
Can
that's
this be-
that's
Can this
just
be allocated
fund
to the bridge
balance.
maintenance, for example, Cross Street Bridge
I
maintenance?
think we changed the title of that to Cross Street Bridge Maintenance in the capital fund.
Yeah, I mean, that's money that is expected for the Cross Street Bridge and local option tax, whatever you want to do. But it's currently still both until we split the baby and
This is critical actually, Nick. So this 2.205511, is that listed on your fund balances in the general fund or in the capital?
Capital
improvement
fund.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Wow. I feel like I need to take like a VLCT course led by you
If
a whole year long.
if they have something, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then you could confidently say yes.
To add something else to that, who delivers your training? This was really
Yeah.
useful for me, and I think
Yeah, I think a regular quarterly will be good.
I think so too. Before Nick goes, is there anything else other than thanks for spending the evening with us?
Thank you. Thank
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Cheers. Fred, have we gotten there?
Nope.
Oh, dang it, I gotta pull up my agenda, sorry.
Where?
I thought we might be back to charter, but no. Oh, sand, baby.
Been waiting all night for this one.
Yeah, we have. Oh, welcome back, Matt.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Yeah, so tell us about winter sand and right-of-way maintenance.
So this was a proposal. Backstory on some of this stuff was just we had certain areas in town, certain residents, where sand was deposited within the right of way. And in the past, with past management, we've the highway department has gone out and powered room lawns for certain individuals. So really what we're trying to achieve here is just clarity, continuity throughout, open up lines of communication with residents where if somebody has an issue, we can go out, we can have that conversation. And it would be at that point the town's, in the town's,
We've got a policy that says, here's the,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just it works as a resource, as a guide, basically, for us to be able to refer to and have that conversation. I think some of the conversations that we had and the questions that were asked was what happens if damage occurs on private property? And that was a great question, and we would absolutely 100% take care of that. What we're really referring to with this policy is stuff in the town right away.
Right.
When we deposit sand, salt, plowing, we have 88 miles of road and 18 miles of sidewalk, so we really got to figure out what's reasonable. And when we're talking about damage, if a plow, the plow gets off the road, plows up into somebody's dooryard or even in the town right away, and it's a significant amount of damage, then we would put that on the list and we would fix that.
I would think it's the most challenging where the sidewalks we have, which are often at the edge of the right of way. And I don't know how they do all these sidewalks are in a big snowfall. Like,
yeah.
Well, I think it was here, it was, and pretty soon in the spring you find out they plowed up a foot of their lawn.
Correct. Yeah.
And okay, that's the edge of the right of way. What does this policy do for that situation?
For like sidewalk?
Yeah.
So if a resident calls, it gives us the opportunity to go out and meet with the resident and have that conversation, right? If we're a foot off the sidewalk and it's plow damage, then obviously that's going to be fixed. We've done miles of it.
Okay. That's good because
what we don't want to get into is right now with 88 miles of road and with the last year with the salt shortage, we use a lot of sand, right? So a little more sand deposited everywhere's, even downtown.
Oh yeah.
We can't be out power moving people's lawns. So, when there's a buildup, we remove berms, we ditch, we do whatever's necessary within the town right away at that point in time.
So it also should give consistency in how we treat the public on this issue, and also it puts people on notice that here's what the rules are. So
right.
If there is any unintentional ambiguity through well-intended actions in the past, we're now going to have a consistent behavior moving forward in regards to how we treat these situations.
Right.
How did we handle this before having this proposed policy? How
It
did
was
you?
on per basis. I mean, really, it was.
Okay.
There was no continuity at all.
Do you have a lot of problems with?
This year, not terrible amount, to be honest with you. It was pretty good. I mean, we probably had a half a dozen or so issues.
It's not bad.
And not bad at all for,
For a lot of sand.
residents that we have in this town.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it went fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I can see the concern that like my neighbor who's got a friend on Public Works has labor being performed for him and I have to do my own. And I think it's good to level set and say that, yeah, there's only certain circumstances.
And I think what's tough, right, is if you do it for one resident and the neighbor drives by, right?
Right.
Well, you're doing it for them.
Yeah,
so why don't we-
absolutely.
So that's kind of what we're trying to avoid. And everybody should be treated equally, so.
Yeah, policy review had the same discussion. Matt said that adopting this policy would be useful for conversations with residents. Come every spring when this happens, and so we said, absolutely, we'll bring it to the select board.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you need a motion.
Well, let's see if there's more discussion to be had. or if people are really excited to go get a creamy before Cookie Love closes.
That sounds great. It sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The cream?
Yeah, motion carried.
Both of them.
Together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, I think that we can probably have a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed new town policy for winter sand and right-of-way maintenance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Great.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Fred, now I can count. It's time for the Charter Review Committee.
All right, and Cookie Love closes at 9?
I think that's correct.
All right.
We don't need to use all the time.
No,
Just recently.
so, as of the last meeting, we had gone through all of the document, and thank you, David, for making all of the edit changes, and thank you for having both a clean version and a red line version, and it's got added late today just to have both. And the clean version is going to have a title that says clean on it, and the red line will have the red changes. So as we left it, if anybody had any other things that they wanted to change or add new ideas, we'll have another opportunity through the hearing process. We have to have, according to 17 VSA 2645, which is a statute on, there's a whole 2 pages of adoption procedures for this that the staff will slog through. You have my condolences, but thank you for, as to when the hearing notice is, and the sequence of things, the filing with the town clerk. We can make changes to it right through the process, right up until sometime before the vote. So, we don't have to have all the ideas out now. But the question is, are you ready to move to approve the proposed charter amendment updates? And you call it reforms in the agenda. I don't know, that's a strong word, reform. If we were going to tax,
Term of art.
with millionaires or something, that'd be different. But I'm going to call it the Middlebury Town Charter Update Amendments, version 9, dated 5/27/26. The filing of the town clerk, and for select board public hearings is July 14th and August 11th. Okay. Let's
A question about July 14th and August 11th.
So that's a Festival on the Green Night.
It's Festival on the Green Night. I had suggested that we might skip the July 28th meeting.
Completely skip.
Yeah.
What?
We don't skip.
Do any of us go to that?
I don't.
Well, the select board meeting, I don't
go
know.
to everyone, but
Right, no, and I have.
So that is the Quebecois night. If you care.
See?
it's what?
It's the Quebecois music night.
Right? What?
So
You're not a fan of
little
Quebecois?
Arcadian, huh?
I have to practice saying it first.
Come on, you guys, we gotta go see the music.
Let's see the hockey.
Good stuff.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna get in trouble
What they
here.
can do with the feet and the hand at the same time is beyond Billy.
I don't remember, Andy,
Yes.
if we ever skipped a meeting.
I don't know that we have, but I know that a lot of folks, a lot of boards and various entities do reduce their schedule in the summer in allowance for the many things that go on in our short and intense summer. I had suggested at our last meeting. Are we all just wanting to have 2 meetings every month?
Rather than reset.
Rather than take a meeting off to.
I'm on vacation.
I think some of it depends on what your
The
needs
only,
are
the only
for
thought that,
our
yeah,
actions.
there's always the possibility something pops up. If we've skipped a meeting, then you're talking about the better part of a month.
Yeah.
And I can't predict what that might be, but there could be something from Emily or Jason that may need something signed or enacted
Check
upon you.
warrants alone,
check
right?
warrants,
Yeah.
Invoicing, we
So,
need to pay our bills.
We can in lieu of that, maybe do our best to just shift everything and have a very short, sort of 5-minute meeting where we, that kind of thing. That way we're not skipping a month, because there will be some action.
okay.
A meeting is a meeting.
A meeting's a meeting, right?
So you don't.
Back on my calendar.
All right, I will
Hours.
not recommend the removal of a meeting this summer. Maybe next
Dang.
summer. We'll
So
The question
if
is,
I
you wanna have
zoom
the charter
in,
hearing
do you,
that
is that a time that you use my
28th.
signature that I?
Yeah, we can do that, yeah.
Alright.
If it's a short meeting, we shouldn't have it on that day. Maybe you should.
Well, we're just gonna meet. A meeting is a meeting. I mean.
Yeah.
But if
The
it's,
question is,
we
you
gotta
wanna
be
have
here.
a public hearing at a
It's
time
a
when
meeting.
the town's,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, don't do the public hearing then.
that's what.
okay, so not July 14th. So what about July 28th?
Yeah, sure.
Wait. July 28th is supposed to be our short meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
the 14th because
So
of the short
do the
meeting.
public hearing on the 14th.
Also, Danielle's on vacation that week.
I mean,
On
I'll
the
zoom
18th,
in,
on
but it'd be
28th.
nice to not have a long meeting.
It's
that day.
okay. I mean,
So,
you
But
can
that's
just,
silly.
you can
That's
be a
my
week,
own personal.
you can be a week hitter and not zoom in, that's okay.
I'll zoom in. I can zoom in.
wow.
I don't
Just
even know
like
what you
Farhad.
said.
Just like Farhad.
What? What are you talking about?
Nothing, I'll tell you later.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just
Uh,
asking.
When do you want to have hearings? The staff needs to
July
know.
14th.
Yeah.
Is that too early?
I think that's fine. We will have-
Determine.
We can make July 14th, the 20 days notice beforehand, means it has to be in the June 18th at Indy,
Which is soon.
Right.
but there's time.
I think that's
So
fine.
we're sticking with those 2 dates
We
then?
will have some people who might want to be here who are at festival, but so be it.
Could we
That's fine.
have a physical display at the festival that people might want to look through?
Of what?
Like we talked
The
about,
charter.
well, no, we
Yeah.
talked about having a physical.
Like at the-
we talked
at the
about having
library.
like, here's the, here are 10 changes that are happening to the charter, and if you want to see the original, or if you want to see it, like go to this link. Like on a
With a
poster,
QR code.
with a QR code that's on the
We
somewhere.
certainly
I can make a graphic.
I mean, if I'm
Can
not
you? That'd be
involved in
great.
producing it, it's totally something
Yeah.
you can do.
I can. I'll
All
make a
right,
graphic.
charter committee members are stepping up here. Thank
Yes.
you, Andy, thank you.
No,
Even if
not
it's
doing
just-
it.
Bring the band back together. The band is coming back together.
Right, it doesn't even have to have a summary of the changes. It can just have like, hey, right now we're having a public hearing about the charter.
Yeah.
Go to this QR code if you want to see what's
Well,
changed.
I'll see if I can, get the Indy to.
I'm not sure if there's any.
And we were gonna
citizens
do like a
that
glass
remember
encased
Very few.
version of
I
the
know.
old one. The
Glass
relic.
Just us.
Yeah, but
Yes.
we can put it in a glass,
I suggested
like
glass.
a
That
artifact.
but so that it doesn't get.
It should be
damaged.
like dusty, leather bound.
Yes.
Well, it's that blue,
like a
blue.
storybook,
Very good.
like a fairy tale.
But that would be a way to capitalize
Okay,
on the
I-
festival and the
Well,
great.
Great.
Izzy and I will work on some kind of,
We did have one question.
Thank you so much.
Just one
And
question
you do the
online.
wastewater treatment
Yes.
plant at the same
Yeah.
time.
Just one question from Dorothy.
Right
Are
next to
there
the ice
two?
cream booth.
Yes.
Dorothy asked, "Are there 2 hearings?"
Yes.
Yes, there will be.
There
yes.
need to be. That is correct.
Yes.
so we were talking about July 14th and August 11th.
I think that's perfect.
If we're gonna have this vote in the fall, we could move the second hearing to a time when people are back to school, as it were. Not so much away on vacation. We don't have to warn both of them. We just warn the first one and see how it goes. Want to do that?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. You got that, David?
Actually, no. I'm talking to Crystal, so you'll need to repeat.
We're going to warn the first, and we're going to decide if the second should be in August or closer to the vote.
I do think, to Fred's point, that there are quite a few steps in this process, and I don't want to pretend to look at the essay section right now and tell you what all those dates are going to be. So I think
Well,
if we're sticking with the ones we posted, then we have the one that I think we crafted to begin with. If we move things, that could move things elsewhere.
Let's not.
it'll give us a week to file these docs with the town clerk, get her certification that they were filed on that date,
Yep.
and then compose a hearing notice for July 14th and get it to the newspaper
Yep.
for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Which I can do. I can come help you with that if you want.
I think we should be able to do it. I think
All
we'll
right.
just have to, we'll create a little cheat sheet internally of all of those steps.
When did
Okay.
we start the committee? How long have we been working on this?
Last summer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Cute. Our work is coming to
We do have
fruition.
one hand up from Dorothy, so I can call upon that if you'd like. Is that a yes? Okay, here we go. Dorothy, I'm gonna, if you wanna unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. I just didn't know if you saw my note. The summer is really hard, I know, for scheduling, but August 11th is primary election day. It might be kind of a busy day at the town offices.
Yeah, that will be a busy day here for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Good catch.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Jeez, thank you. I didn't catch that. I got one.
So should we count on 25 for August as our,
August 25th.
Well, okay,
as
tentatively.
our tentative second?
5th of August.
That's the night we're scheduled, according to the town plan schedule, to receive the town plan from the planning commission.
Holy moly!
That might be a lot.
That's a lot.
I'm not sure they're gonna stay on the schedule, because, watching their recent meeting, I'm not sure that those dates that they had listed are gonna be holding. But I definitely, let's just play it by ear and see what their schedule looks like and see how it goes the first meeting. So I would move to approve the proposed Middlebury Town Charter Update Amendments, version 9, dated 5/27/26, as are in our packets, for filing with the town clerk and for select board public hearing on August 14th, 2026, in accordance with 17 BSA, section 2645.
July 14th.
What did I say?
August.
August.
I meant July 14th.
Perfect. Friendly amendment.
Second.
Yes. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Getting it done.
Step 1.
All right.
Yay!
Well done.
One other thing about this, we did make some other minor changes since David did this fantastic index and summary. And David, I'd be happy to share this with you to help bring these into sync with where we are.
And
Yeah.
that's
Awesome.
probably what I'll use to make our graphic.
Awesome. Rightfully so.
Well, the other one that had the AI
Yeah.
summary of
My
the 7
nonsense.
things
Yeah.
is even more concise for the bulletin board readers.
Just saying.
Just take a look at the pictures before you put them.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. We are now at 8:05 at select board member comments.
Oh my goodness.
Danielle, what do you got?
So, I'm just wanting to make sure that I bring attention to the email that was sent by Rick from
Yeah.
Mr. Epps.
I got that too.
Yes.
Okay.
By whom?
Fine.
Yes.
Mr. Ups.
I'd
Oh,
like
yeah.
to make sure that that makes an agenda soon.
So just, so if you're referring to one of the encampments, so there was an encampment that had reached, I don't want to go too far off, but essentially, per the policy and the MOU the town adopted a little while back, one encampment did reach the end of its calendar, of the time permit. They were given a notice to vacate, 30 days went by, no action, no removal occurred, and so per that policy and MOU, the encampment was removed. It was removed late last week by the police department. There was a separate tent down there. It is on a separate timeline. So if the individual or individuals aren't going to remove that tent by that timeline, similar action may be necessary. We had Public Works and police and representatives from CSAC involved in that activity last week. I can say that's, I believe, and I'll go back and check the first time we've reached the end of the timeline. In other instances where an encampment was on a parcel that is simply not allowed, like the parcel that includes the parking lot, Charter House has always been successful in doing the initial outreach and convincing them to move the encampment off that parcel. So in every other instance over the last year plus, it's been successful. This case, there were some unique circumstances with the individual involved. So we received those communications too, and there was back and forth emails between the town staff and the gentleman from Mr. Ups last week. So we were communicating with him. I can say, and I think we've had some discussions. We're like with any policy, we learn once it goes live and you're in the field, and I think we're hoping at some point this summer to bring back to the board some possible reforms to that MOU
Okay.
and policy based on our the police department's experiences and Heidi and Charterhouse's experiences that hopefully can stick to the spirit of what we intended, but make it a little more efficient. Let's say. So I think that's our goal, and we're gonna, when Heidi's available for that, we're gonna try to bring that to you.
Okay.
So his sentiments, he's been communicating with us about it.
So I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much. And I'm glad I brought it up because in a situation like that, I do have the impulse to want to respond, but I, didn't really have a lot. Like I did respond, I texted him, but there wasn't a whole lot.
And we're happy. I mean, none of this is, top secret. I mean, we're happy. I keep a spreadsheet of encampments that are reported, and we track the outcomes, so we can have it all in one place.
Oh,
I share it with the police department and Heidi. It's just an operational tool.
Yeah.
Time goes by, and I don't remember every detail otherwise. We've gotten maybe 12, 15 complaints. I'd have to go back and check over the last year, and each one's unique. In some cases, they're not allowed, such as this case, and outreach starts with Charterhouse.
Yeah.
In some cases, they're on a parcel that's town-owned, but not automatically restricted, and it's a case-by-case matter in that instance. In some cases, it's not even town property. The people who reported it didn't realize that it's private property. We get that, at which point it's simply a trespassing matter if the owner so chooses. So it's a case-by-case as we've gotten those complaints coming in for encampments being reported.
Yeah. Because I definitely don't want to slow down anybody's workload or add to anybody's workload, I guess. But I wonder if there's a way, say for what this conversation is doing, to just, when we're included in something, knowing what.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to speak for Jason. There could be certain due process aspects of this activity that I'm not sure we're going to give a play-by-play of as they're happening.
Yeah, it's not
but
necessary.
I think in general, especially collectively, our hope was to, as part of the possible summer reform, give you an update on how things have gone over the last year, and that can certainly be a way to illustrate how this has worked out.
It could be useful, and one pattern that might work is I'm expecting Drew to set up a Selectboard at townofmiddlebury.org mailing list, and if we are included in communications with the town, to also include us on the CC and the response,
Yes.
and then put it in the packet so it is a public document the next time around.
Yeah.
That's a way of keeping all of us in the loop when we're pulled in.
Without having to send a special.
Exactly, and we're not all doing the six-way shuffle to try
Don't worry, I dealt with
Did,
it. Like,
did you
it's just-
respond?
yeah. It's good to check it off the list. Yeah.
Me too.
That.
I think that it's something Drew will do.
Awesome.
July 1, when he has access on July 1.
Yeah, exactly.
He can do it, yeah.
That's correct.
So, unfortunately.
Is that it? Dave?
Yeah, that was the thing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks. Megan J.
I'm just curious if we're going to have a conversation, or if the design advisory committee conversation is going to be on the next.
Yeah, I
meeting
believe
agenda?
the idea was when Mark returns, we would have that conversation. So at this point, my understanding is we're aiming for the second meeting of this month.
Excellent. That's all.
Cool.
Thanks.
Happy Pride Month, everyone. Middlebury is special in that we don't host a Pride Festival in June. But if you wanted to save the date, we're hoping for October 10th to be the Pride Festival. And then the next day is usually the car show.
Ah,
So
cool.
I'm sure those permits will be coming to us soon. But that is an update, or if we haven't already gotten them, an update from the Teen Center, Library, and BMP that I got.
Sweet. Thanks, Susan. Farhad,
I got nothing.
you got nothing. All right. Fair enough. Fred. You're all set. Very good. Thanks, Fred. Dan.
I have to report on the somewhat sketchy results for the Friday night supper response. Not everybody responded to the doodle poll, which is, and there was a couple errors in there, and they probably were my fault. That they were a Saturday, not a Friday. And the Saturday one won. Farhad asked me if I could move it to Saturday. I said, no.
Oh, we all
You
picked
gave us that
I
option.
think it means we should.
So I'm going to start all over again because most of the dates that we were voting on, I talked to Dottie this week,
dear.
they were filling up. So
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about, with the busy summer schedules, to putting this into
We're looking
the
at fall.
September, October, November
Oh,
time.
man.
Late September.
Friday nights. It'll be
We
Friday
need a
nights.
Friday night that all of us are free.
Yeah, and I
Nice.
would.
Not all of us, but
Yeah.
Majority.
It was gonna be the
Okay.
19th.
Yes, thank you for
We all picked
doing
I
Saturday.
failed.
that's not.
Whoops.
That's
Oops.
amazing.
Is that all you got?
So the 19th is off.
That's a pretty weak. What?
The 19th of June is off.
Yeah, we've never had the 19th of June on.
It's Juneteenth.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
Well, it's good if you show up. They'll help. They can use your help.
They will use you, for sure. I have two
I'll
things.
volunteer you.
And we've got like, what, 12 minutes. Congratulations to Izzy for finishing the Snelling Center governmental.
Yes, I had a great time.
Yeah.
We learned about the economy, innovation, corrections, the arts, local, state government, the
Awesome.
whole shebang. 9 months.
Awesome.
Done.
And I want to thank the East Middlebury Prudential Fire District 1 and Historical Society for inviting us all to their picnic potluck this past Sunday.
Barbecue.
I think it was a potluck.
Doesn't get, yeah, you did.
Anyway.
There was an email.
It was a great time. I arrived late, but it's a lovely event, and I want to give my thanks for being
It
included.
was nice that you came. It's very Gilmore Girls, isn't it?
It is so sweet. Oh my goodness, I absolutely loved
They're
it.
singing, flute playing.
Yeah, a lovely door prize raffle. It was great. Okay,
Nothing.
that's all I got.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.